Good morning. I thought I'd start everybody out with, I don't know, something that even looks better than me on this Palm Sunday morning, just frying bacon. Can you smell it right now? So good morning. It's Sunday. Pretty excited about today. Historically, I don't know if you know anything about Palm Sunday, but this is when Jesus actually, he rode into Jerusalem, or came and walked into Jerusalem, and they put palm leaves down, Palm Sunday, that's why they call it that. You'll notice my tie. I'm rocking my bow tie this morning. I got dressed up for church. Church starts in about an hour. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull this bacon off the skillet. And we're going to get started with Shawn's Melodious Egg Sandwiches. All right. So, where does Shawn's Melodious Egg Sandwiches come from? Well, I can't take all the credit. So back in Sharon, Nebraska, where we used to live, they had this little place called the Bean Broker, great coffee shop, and they had this thing called Second Street Eggs. And one morning for breakfast, I hadn't had breakfast. I was meeting coffee with one of my students, and I stopped in there, and I was hungry, so I decided, hey, let's get one of these Second Street eggs at the Bean Broker. And I had it, and I thought, man, this might be the most delicious of all the egg sandwiches I've ever had. And so basically I stole the recipe, and then I kind of made it my own. And where does the name Melodious Egg Sandwiches come from if it was called Second Street Eggs? Well, we used to live on West 2nd in Sharon, and when I stole the recipe by eating it once and deciding I could make those at home, I called it the West 2nd Street Eggs so that I wouldn't get in trouble for any copyright infringement. And everywhere that we've lived since, so every time we've moved here in Phoenix, I've just changed the name of the sandwiches. At one point, it was the 77th Street Eggs. Another point, it was the, what else did we call it? The 16th Street Eggs when we lived here. Mary Jane Lane Eggs or something was another one. And then we moved here to Melody Drive here in Phoenix, and it all came to pass that they would be called the Shawn's Melodious Egg Sandwiches. So I'm starting off here with a sweet potato. Again, at the Bonzas house, we love our sweet potatoes. They're good, they're healthy, they're good brain food. Starting off with one of these bad boys. We're just going to chop it up. Now, I'm making egg sandwiches for just 3 people this morning. One for me, one for Jody, and one for Yastina, our host daughter from India who's living with us. Putting this here, we're going to cut these up in small pieces. Now, obviously, sweet potatoes take a little bit longer than the rest of our ingredients to cook in this egg sandwich. So I'm going to get those on here right away and then come back over here. Let you know what else goes in the Melodious. Well, thank you, Sarah. You like, or Shane, one or the other, my brother or his wife, they're saying I'm rocking that bow tie. Talk a little bit later about why I'm rocking a bow tie this morning. And I also started this thing at 9 o'clock this morning, so I figure no matter when your church service starts on this Sunday morning, you should be able to cook these egg sandwiches and get to church. My church service starts at 10 o'clock, and we're going online. We're going to be meeting with all of our family at Ascend Church in Tempe. We're not going to be in Tempe, obviously. We're going to be online. So I'm going to put these over in the skillet, and I'll be right back. Now I'm just using the... Oh, it's my brother Shane's watching me this morning. How are you, Shane? I hope you had a happy birthday back in March. So with these egg sandwiches, we're going to be using orange bell pepper, yellow bell pepper, broccoli, the sweet potato like you saw. These eggs here, we're going to use some eggs, obviously, or you wouldn't call them Melodious Egg Sandwiches. And then they'll go on these toasted ciabatta rolls. And this is really what makes it. I know it sounds odd. The first time I ever ate it, I was like, are you kidding me right now? But I'm going to make what's called aioli, which is mayonnaise, and we're going to put this basil pesto in here. So basil pesto and mayo makes basil aioli, and then you put that on the ciabatta rolls. I'm telling you, there's just something about it. Probably, I don't know. Maybe live a little bit this morning on Palm Sunday. Try something that's a little bit different. When I first had some, you guys have heard if you watch me at all that I was born and raised in Nebraska, and in Nebraska, you don't try things that are weird. You just eat fried eggs, bacon, hash browns. Getting crazy at breakfast in Nebraska, really? What is it? That's eating hash. Because, well, it's got potatoes and meat, and it's already cooked up in a can for you. I'm going to put this orange bell pepper over here. Doesn't take much to make these sandwiches. I know it seems like a lot. You have all these different vegetables, but if you just take your time, slow cook it, get the veggies in there, talk with your loved ones on a delicious, fantastic Palm Sunday morning. Before you know it, you got all the ingredients in the pan and they're cooking up really, really nice. There's something about these bell peppers. Now, let's go back to my story. I was telling you how this is basically, my brother Shane saying poached eggs. That would be crazy in Nebraska. That's what we eat. That's what we call crazy breakfast. For the most part, though, man, it's your basics. It's your bacon, your sausage, your eggs, your hash browns, your toast. All those things gotta be done. And most people would say the same thing. But if you do hash and corn and meat, I remember I used to drive Dad crazy. Yeah. All right, Alicia. All right. Yellow pepper. And we're going to go with the broccoli. Most of you right now, there was a time Jesus had a whole bunch of people following him, and he made some tough decisions, made some statements, and then basically everybody left him. That might be actually what happens right here on my cooking show. When I started talking about broccoli, going in with eggs, people are like, what is this noise? I'm getting offline right now. Something's crazy with Shawn. He's putting green stuff in with his eggs. Trust me, they're not that healthy because I'm putting bacon on them too. If you tuned in right away this morning, the first 5 of you saw not this face, but bacon frying. So here's my broccoli. I just chopped it up in small bite-sized pieces. I'm going to put that over here in the skillet. Lost you at sweet potatoes, huh? Okay, I'm going to flip the camera around so you can see what we got going on right now. Now, I've cooked this up in the bacon grease. You can cook this in whatever kind of grease you want, so it doesn't have to be bacon, obviously. A lot of times when I make the Melodious Egg Sandwiches, I actually cook bacon and sausage. And then for people who don't like meat, so you're vegetarians, you're vegans, and those kinds of people, you can cook this in whatever kind of oil you want. And then this would actually just be your base without the meat. So we're cooking that up right now. We're going to let that cook. Come back over here so I can talk just a little bit with you. So what's the deal with my bow tie? Aren't we in quarantine, Shawn? Kind of seems ridiculous that you'd get all dressed up. And maybe it does. But I was thinking about Palm Sunday, and Palm Sunday to me, when I think about it, was kind of a day of hope. So Jesus, he came to Jerusalem. People thought, he's the Messiah. They yelled Hosanna. They threw down palm leaves, and it was just this. It was this sign of hope. And I don't know if you've been watching many of the memes for our COVID-19 time and quarantine, but one of the memes says, what's really important is every once in a while to take off your sweatpants and put your jeans back on to make sure that you can still fit into them, because like most of us, we're Zooming, we're working from home, we're not really wearing our work clothes. So we don't know, maybe we've gained the COVID-15, the COVID-19, we've gained it and we can't fit into our work clothes. So it's important to get out of your sweatpants and then put on some work clothes. And why I dressed up a little bit this morning was, when you put on some fresh digs and you get ready to go out, there's like this anticipation. There's this hope, this thing that you feel like I'm about to go out. I'm about to do something important. Something good is going to happen to me. So I think it's important sometimes that you get out of your sweatpants, get out of them and put on some nice clothes. In fact, like I said, we're doing this early enough so that you can do that this morning. You can get dressed up, get ready for church, even if you're going to go to church online. Morning, Luhan. It's good to see you here, man. My sister Jessica, she zoomed in. Hey, sis. Love to have all of you guys here watching away. We're making Shawn's world-famous Melodious Egg Sandwiches this morning. Just recap the ingredients really quick. My Jenna Bug, my sweet daughter, she's watching this morning. The Melodious Egg Sandwiches. It comes with broccoli, sweet potatoes, yellow bell pepper, and orange bell pepper. And then you can add whatever meat that you like for breakfast, a breakfast meat. I've even thought about using chorizo. So if you like chorizo, that's a good way to go here. But bacon, sausage, and then if you just want a vegetarian, go vegetarian. We're just cooking up the veggies right now to make sure that they get soft enough. So when we put the eggs in, we're not having to overcook the eggs because we don't want that either. So make sure that your veggies are good and soft. They're edible. They're not chalky. It takes a little bit of time. But hey, this is Slow Cooking with Shawn. I'm slow cooking, and you're slow cooking with me, and I dig that. I hope that everybody's doing okay this morning. So you heard me talking a little bit about my bow tie and why I'm wearing that this morning. Think about it for yourself. What are you doing right now? Are you sitting there in your living room? Are you scrolling and you just happen by me? You're like, who's this knucklehead in a bow tie? By the way, this is also to show you that you can cook right after you get home from work. So maybe you just got home from work. Buy one of these bad boys. I actually had one of the ladies from the church back in Nebraska. She made me this because she was always seeing me out at the grill for my college ministry. And she said, Shawn, you need a new apron. So she made this, and she used a towel. And I was thinking about this morning. She used this towel, and she made me this apron. And I was thinking about everybody that's home right now making these homemade masks. It's like all of a sudden we are... Hi, Angela. We're a bunch of pioneer people. Out here in Phoenix, this is like the 48th state, they call it. So we're one of the last states just before Hawaii and Alaska to get their statehood. So we actually had cowboys out here way longer than everybody else, right? So we still kind of have that pioneering sense, but I was also thinking about my roots back in Nebraska, pioneer spirit there as well, living out on the plains. It's not easy. It's not easy living out on the plains in Nebraska. The wind blows all the time. The snow, you don't know. You could get a blizzard. That blizzard could happen all the way through May sometimes. So why am I saying all this? I'm saying all this to let you know this morning, why don't you take the time, get out of your sweatpants. Dress up a little bit, even if you're not going anywhere. Just dress up a little bit. Put your work clothes on. Put your Sunday best on. Get your bow tie. I could actually do a little video anytime to show you how to tie these bad boys too. I learned how to do that. This man gives the best haircuts in a war zone. Thank you very much, Natoro. You did come to get quite a few haircuts from me because your room was right next to my room, so I was always available. I used to do haircuts at 2, 3 in the morning because in Iraq we ran night missions and we weren't able to get haircuts from the PX. So I started my own barber shop, and that was pretty cool. I probably cut over 1,000 haircuts, and I had never really cut any hair except for my son's prior to that, and he hated my haircuts. So Zach, if you're watching this morning, I apologize if I ever hurt your head by shaving it too close. Clippers was my game. I never really used any sort of scissors. That's not really the Army way, as you can tell. I actually used to have hair. I see everybody's pictures floating around through Facebook from their senior year, and I haven't posted mine, but I did. I used to have hair, and so did my son, and I feel really bad that he took after his dad. So All right, while that's cooking over there, these are the best rolls for the Melodious Egg Sandwiches, the ciabatta roll. I got these from Sprouts, but you can get these at Walmart. You can get them at your local Safeway. Any place that has a deli, they usually make the ciabatta rolls. These are the best rolls for this sandwich, and I don't know why that is, but you can use a healthier bread too. And so I don't want to say you can't. I actually sometimes use Dave's bread. I'm not really advertising for people, but that's what I use. Give me 1 second. These aren't pre-cut. This isn't the kind of knife to cut bread with. You want to use some sort of serrated edge to cut your bread. They just cut easier that way. Just going to get this ciabatta roll cut here so we're ready to toast it when it's time. You make these Shawn's Melodious breakfast egg sandwiches, and you're going to be the most popular mom, dad, aunt, uncle, husband, wife that there is out there. In fact, I have people that are friends of ours who come, and every time they come to visit, we have to have the Melodious Egg Sandwiches. In fact, a couple of our friends, Phil and Amanda, we used to roommate together when we first got here to Phoenix, and we actually had this talk about starting a restaurant. We would call it Aioli's, and we would make these Melodious Egg Sandwiches, but then on top of that, we'd make runzas, which, by the way, I will be making this next Saturday. If you tune in at 4 o'clock on Shawn's Slow Cooking with Shawn, I'm going to teach you how to make a Nebraska staple. This popular, it's a restaurant chain. It's called Runza. Some people call them cabbage rolls. You'll see. This is another one of those things that makes you the most popular person in your house. Is if you can make the Melodious Egg Sandwiches, if you can make Runzas, people will come from far and wide to see you. And people actually have. They've come to Phoenix to say, hey, Shawn, could you hook us up with your Melodious Egg Sandwiches? All right, we're getting really close here on the veggies. I'm going to turn those down. You just want to get them nice and cooked. A little crispy is good too. That way you know that they've been cooked well. I take the time here. I'm going to flip this around so you can see it. I take the time here. I make sure that my sweet potatoes got a nice little caramelization on them because they taste really good within the eggs. Then you notice the little bites. This is key too. Make sure that those sweet potatoes are way down into small bite size, almost diced. You know, I didn't dice them really, but what I usually do is I get them in small pieces and then I use my spatula. That way you know they're cooked through. To get them down there like that. So, flip this back around. All right, let's get us a bowl. Crack some eggs here. Pam Weeder, good to see you. All right, cracking some eggs. We're gonna get these, and then I'm gonna put just a little bit of cream in them. Why do you do that, Shawn? Well, you don't have to do that. Some people don't like milk products. Some people are lactose intolerant, and that's cool. I like to use a little bit of milk product. This is probably one of the only places I use milk product because I'm a little bit lactose intolerant. Except when it comes to ice cream, I don't care if it makes me feel that way. I'm going to eat ice cream anyway. 2, 4, 6. Now, I usually use, for these egg sandwiches, 2 eggs per person. So if you're making, like I'm making 3 sandwiches today, you'll want to make sure that you have at least 6 eggs. So give me a second. Now, this I learned from my mama. Heavy whipping cream is probably good on almost everything in the whole wide world. It's even good just to take a little sip. It's not good for you, so don't get me wrong. Don't say, oh, I was watching Shawn's cooking show, and he said that heavy whipping cream is good for you, because it's not. But it sure is good on, when you make a chocolate cake and all the crumbs that are left at the bottom of the pan of chocolate cake. You take all those crumbs, sweep them into a good bowl, take that heavy whipping cream. It's like you have a whole brand new dessert. And it goes delicious, of course, with a hot cup of coffee. So I'm just whisking those up. traditional fork. You don't need all these fancy tools. Breakfast is about what can I whip up for my fam? Get them going for the day. All right. We're going to pour those in. Farhat's back watching again. Good to see you. Dave Baker, how are you? All right. So I turned my skillet down. That's important too, especially if you're going to be using a cast iron. Eggs, they like to stick to a cast iron, not going to lie. So if you don't like to work with cast iron, don't. Not until you get used to it. Don't be frying a bunch of eggs in your cast iron skillet and you've never done it before, because it's just going to frustrate you. You're not going to be able to get the eggs off the side, and you'll be like, well, cast iron's ridiculous. Shawn was telling us on this cooking show that was the best. And it is. I love how food tastes in a cast iron skillet, in a cast iron pot, your Dutch oven. But man, when you first start and you haven't got your skillet seasoned very well, and you're trying to cook on these bad boys, I'm telling you what, it will frustrate you. So just don't. Start off slow. Cook some things that don't stick. Cook meat in the bottom of those things, and then you won't get so frustrated. And it's kind of like practice. You wouldn't go into the NFL with no practice. You wouldn't go into the NBA with no practice. You got to practice. So I've practiced a lot. That's why I can use them. So we're going to let these eggs set a little bit. Hang on one second. So you don't have to do this, but I like to do it. I put a little bit of the basil inside with the eggs. So as the eggs cook, they get a little bit of that taste. That way, because it just does something. The basil pesto does something for this. This is why it's melodious, because it takes all these flavors. Well, besides the fact that we live on Melody Drive, it takes all the flavors. It takes the broccoli, which is that nice green, hearty vegetable. And I didn't like broccoli when I was a kid. I was one of those kids. If my mom says, eat all your broccoli, I'd be like, no, just give me more fried chicken, Mom, because that's what I'm good at. So it takes the broccoli, the sweet potato, both the bell peppers, and then it's just like this melody coming together. When you cook it, you eat it with the pesto. All right. We're getting really close now. Letting those eggs set a little bit more. Provolone cheese, the best cheese to go on these sandwiches. Now, this is another one of those things, you don't have to do this. You can actually just make those sandwiches up. You can use the basil pesto. Never use any ingredients that come from the cow. You can, if you're lactose intolerant, you don't have to do the cheese. This cheese melts so perfectly over the top of these. And for every slice is actually a sandwich. So obviously, if you were looking at my eggs, I'm going to have more than 3. That's just the way it goes. I'm going to put those, actually going to flip the eggs one more time. Make sure they're cooking right. And then we're going to go about putting the cheese on the eggs. Got that pesto cooked up in there. And this cheese melts the best, and it goes really well with kind of the Italian thought with basil pesto. So you kind of almost have an Italian egg sandwich. So let's see what they look like here. So we're going to let that just melt. And we're going to come back over here. And we're going to toast our ciabatta rolls. I'm going to show you really quick about how easy it is to make aioli. Get yourself a bowl. A couple of spoons. Now, this is the mayonnaise that I have. Use whatever mayonnaise you dig. This is the mayonnaise that we were able to pick up at Fry's. And right now, like I said, beggars can't be choosers in the middle of a pandemic. So whatever mayonnaise you have, grab that mayonnaise. People hoarding the craziest things I've ever seen people hoard. I don't understand. But like almost all the mayonnaise was gone. So anyway, you just take some mayonnaise, put that in the bowl. Pretty simple. Right now, I have our ciabatta rolls. They're over there in the toaster going. You're probably saying, how much are you putting in there, Renee? Sorry, I don't have any, I guess, teaspoons, tablespoons, all those things. So if you're watching, I do everything basically to look or to taste. Right now I'm making this pesto basil aioli. I'm taking these two ingredients and I'm just mixing them together. And then I'm going to taste them. Needs a little bit more pesto. Now this can be as pesto-y as you like it. I use this pesto as well. Well, not necessarily this brand, but you can make a really good Alfredo. Get the Alfredo sauce and then you put that in there and it's just like you're eating at Noodles and Company or something. So, show this to you really quick. Flip it around so you can see what this aioli looks like. Pretty simple. Just put them together and boom, you make aioli. Just kind of waiting on the ciabatta rolls. And we're going to roll out one of these egg sandwiches for you to see. I'm pretty excited about that. And if you're just tuning in, this is the Shawn's Melodious Egg Sandwiches. It's because I live on Melody Drive, and all of these delicious flavors come together in a delicious melody. Some of you are also just tuning in. You're wondering about my bow tie. This is to remind you that actually Palm Sunday is considered a Sunday of hope. I think we need more hope right now. If you watch the news like I've been watching the news, man, it can freak you out. It's like the whole world is going to die because of this virus, and people are getting a little bit freaked out about it. And I was thinking, well, maybe this morning we could just talk about hope a little bit. And I would put on my bow tie, I would put on my vest, and I would say, hey, I'm gonna start talking a little bit more about hope. You just heard that probably. The ciabatta roll. Oh my goodness. Basically perfectly toasted right here. You see that? All right. Take the aioli. Depending upon how you like your aioli, you might start off with, you know what, Shawn, I've never really had mayonnaise on eggs before. You might not want to put very much on there because, well, it might not be good. I cover both sides of the ciabatta roll. And then give me 1 second, I'll get some egg. There it is, Shawn's Melodious Egg Sandwich. Now, let me give you the kicker here. If you're like me, which a lot of you are, you're going to want that bacon. So you just slap that bacon on there, and you see the aioli is right there. Boom. If you wanted to be fancy and you're making this for somebody that you really love or really trying to impress, you can cut that bad boy in half. Now the crunchiness of this Melodious Egg Sandwich, because you're using ciabatta roll, it's going to be glorious. So you can see right there what we have. Well, this Sunday morning, I appreciate you tuning in to watch Slow Cooking with Shawn on a little bonus cook. We made the Shawn's Melodious Egg Sandwich. We talked a little bit about hope. We talked about maybe getting out of our work clothes to make, or our quarantine clothes, our sweatpants and all those things, getting out of that and then getting into our work clothes to make sure that they still fit, that you didn't gain the COVID-15 right now, because we've only been in quarantine for a few weeks, and I hear if you watch the news, it's going to be a lot longer. So stay safe out there. And get out of your sweatpants every once in a while. Put your jeans on. Make sure they fit. And this morning, as you're getting ready to go to church services online, why don't you dress up a little bit? And then next week, of course, is April, which is really exciting. Or April, it's Easter next Sunday. And so I I will be wearing another bow tie, and I hope that you tune in because I'm going to have yet another cooking show, bonus show on Easter Sunday. I'm pretty excited about that too. So guys, thanks so much for tuning in to watch me cook and to listen to a little bit of a message. Really great to see you. My neighbor just logged in. Jonathan, I'm getting ready to zoom out, but thank you guys. I love you. You take care of yourself. Be safe out there and take care of your families. And I hope today is a day of hope. All right. God bless you. Bye-bye.